Hi, this is Miss Lisa, the Sewing Lady of Pinellas Park, Florida, United States of America. Today's lesson is going to be starting our muslin. I hope everybody has got a piece of old fabric they don't want to use, because that's what we're going to do it on. This is like a beginner pattern, as far as you will keep this forever unless you change sizes. The reason you're going to make it a bit bigger is then if something happens and you grow a little, you have some space to work with your original pattern, and that's what most people will call it, is your original. This is the one we fine-tune our pattern on. We make it a full-size dress, so you're going to learn a lot. Seam allowance is something we kind of hit on when I said, oh, just make it a 1/4 inch. Well, talked to some of my friends, and they did point out different places have different seam allowances. Believe it or not, back in the 1700s, they would stitch as close to the edge of the fabric as they could get away with hand sewing. A lot of times, people were stitched into their clothing for the day. Imagine that. That means you can't move without a problem, because it might have been stitched a little bit to your undergarment, so everything shifted with it. Seam allowance is really important. Certain fabrics need a little more. Certain fabrics can take a lot less. Knit fabric, it can take a lot less. It can take a 1/4 inch, because a lot of times when we finish off the seam, that means we stitch on it in a certain way to keep it from raveling. Some knits ravel, some don't. Those that don't, they don't need a seam finish on them. And we'll get into seam finish when we start sewing. But it's important to know some of this. Sewing terms is something that I'm going to do, and you're going to learn them as they're needed. If you don't see why the word is important, you're not going to remember it. As we do the pattern, there will be terms in there, and I will explain them as we go along. So today, first, I want to show you. We were doing the back the last time we saw each other. And I kind of finished mine off. Not as good as I did on the first one, but I just wanted to show you, it's kind of the basic. And this is, I didn't add my seam allowance like I should have, but I can do that in my muslin. So it's going to add a little bit. Me, I'm going to add a lot. You never know. I might get bigger. Hope not. But then, you know, those are the things that they do happen. Let's face it. We love to eat. Okay. I'm using an old sheet. Somebody got oil on it and there's stains on it from, unfortunately, kitties. You know, that kind of thing happens. Now, for the fabric we're going to use our front. The front, if you remember, I said, has to go on a fold. So, we want to have the fabric folded. Of course, it doesn't want to work with me. I have a lot of fabric, so I got a lot of room to work with. You might not have as much, but that's okay. Now I'm going to lay my fabric out, and something that's important is you want to flatten it out so you can use it. Yes, I tried to iron it. I'm not good at ironing sheets, so you see wrinkles. Preferably you don't have deep wrinkles, because they affect the size. We're going to start with our front piece. Mine, unfortunately, yes, I've been lazy this week on things. Not really, I've been too busy. We get guests, we get all kinds of things. But I'm going to quickly cut out mine. I want to allow enough room for the hem because I really want you to see what a hem is like. I know you all think, I know what a hem is, but you know what? Hems are different. They're not just a straight line across. There's a little shaping involved, and if you don't do it, it doesn't look so good. So you got to remember that. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin my fabric and pattern together. Now, since we have a lot of beginners, I want you to see how to pin. Very important information. Now, I just plop that down like that so the paper doesn't get in the way. You probably won't have that problem, but if you do, you can use anything. I just got lucky. Somebody gave me these, but I only have 2. I'd like to have 6. So, what I'm going to do is show you pinning. I'm using a big pin. Hopefully you can see it. It's the one with the yellow ball on the end for those who know what I'm talking about. Now, pins have to go in a certain way in order for this to be pinned properly, and so when you go to cut, it's going to cut nicely. I want you to take the pin and take your point and go straight down. And then I want you to dig up. It's going to lift the fabric a little bit. That's okay at this point. Some people have never done this before, so they need to know. Here we go again. We dig in, and look at how it holds the fabric. The pattern doesn't move, and that's something important. Now, I don't pin this side. This is where the fold is. I don't put a lot of pins in because it's just kind of just to keep it over the edge, okay? You want the pattern and the fabric on the very edge. You shouldn't see any fabric. You should just see the pattern, but you don't want the pattern to be over because then you lose inches. You don't want to lose inches, do you? So, I dig in, bring it over, and pin it there. I then pin it down here, and then I'm just going to pin it down to here. I know I have too much paper for for what I want for the hem, the length of my dress to be. But, you know, always cut a little extra. Extra is never bad. Extra you can actually use. Now, I probably can't see it, but on my pattern, I do have that extra that I mentioned to you in the other video. And that was what I consider my ease. Okay, not everybody has the same ease. Well, some of you might, but you know, it's something that is going to be your measurement. All of that is your measurements, not mine. Okay? And then try to pin every so many inches. You don't have to make 2 million pins in it. A lot of people will do that, you know, it's too much work, and you don't need to. You just need to make sure that the paper is staying. Very important places that should always have a pin. Curves. Very important, because curves will distort. And when they distort, you have a neckline that doesn't work for you, or you have an armhole, or wherever there's a curve, it won't fit right. Distortion is one of the biggest problems with ready-made clothes. And you can see it if you know what to look for, and eventually you will know. Because once you start sewing, We got it pinned. Miracle of a camera for filming. We had to stop for a half a second. And while I was doing my little sit down and not do anything, I repinned mine because unfortunately I was using a sheet and it's got a heavy hem and it's going to make my scissors go crazy. So that's why we did that. I repinned, and yeah, I took it down to the bottom. It's longer than what I need, but I figured it would do better while we're doing this. So, cutting. Good shears. You can buy the dollar store ones for paper. Maybe. I actually have one for our paper that won't even cut paper. And it's sharp because they're not made very well. These ones are pretty good. Anytime you see one that has a screw in it that actually moves, that's a good pair of scissors. If you have the real old one that's got the nut on it, you've got a golden pair of scissors, and you take to the sharpener, have them sharpen it up every when it starts to get dull, because some people it's a year, some people it's sooner. For me, it probably was sooner. Okay, cutting is not a hard thing. It's just like cutting paper, but you're doing fabric. Only problem you run into is sometimes when you're doing a curve, it gets a little difficult. Your scissors will fight you. They'll do all kinds of things. Don't worry. You're going to give it a little space. Now I'm going to show you how to cut this. It's very important that you watch what I'm doing because I'm not going to cut on my line. I'm going to give myself some space here. Why? Because I want to make sure I have enough room to do the pattern. And it gives a bigger seam allowance. Okay? Now watch what I do. When I go to cut, I cut like this, and it's straight up and down. No angling. When you start angling, that makes the scissors cut wrong. Now, for you that don't have the eye like I do, you might want to make an extra line there. But I know where I'm going. So, look at that. I cut it. It's okay. It's not as rounded as it should be, but hey, we're going to work with this. And then, now I made a mistake and I want you to see it. The pin is out here and it's in the way. I know I'm going to cut further up, but always make sure your pin is inside the pattern edge. Very, very important. You never want your scissors to come in contact with a pin. What it does is it leaves little nicks. And those little nicks is what makes it hard for you to cut. So again, I'm going to leave some space, go over, and cut. Alright. Now you have to see the back of me for this part. Sorry. It's how it works. Now if David can kind of work around me. I know you can't see what I'm doing. But all I'm doing is cutting around the armhole. And you see my armhole seems kind of big. Well, we're going to take care of that when we get this done. Okay, I'm still making big, wide areas. And when you get to the side, give it some room. It's okay. You give it some room. It gives us extra to work with. We take it all the way down. That hem is gonna change, but for right now, this is what we're doing. Now, if you're like me, There's never enough room to cut. For me, I flip it and I move everything up. It's really the only way, because I don't have the cutting table. I have a good one though. I like my cutting table. Now for me, this is where you go to the bottom and cut across. I know I didn't pin it. You should pin it all the way across. You know, maybe like one here, maybe one there. But that's the way it goes. Now I didn't add a lot down here because I left a lot of more room on mine. In fact, mine is 5 inches longer than I want. Gonna come out. Come out a little more, so it's gonna end up even with that. And there I did it. Mistake number 2. Did it on purpose. Some of the fabric, when I came down here, I didn't cut through 2 layers. That happens. Don't worry. You can go back and cut it. You cut it exactly where the other piece is. If you're a little off, it's okay. Don't be so hard on yourself. Sewing should be fun. It shouldn't be a burden. It should be fun, and that's what I like. I love fun. We fold this down like that, just because if we do anything different, we'll have a problem. If you crease it at this point, you're going to have a problem when we relay this piece out. So, up the side, miracles. So, now we can get rid of that excess paper I have that's been in my way. Miracle, it's gone. Alright. Now, I don't have a lot of fabric left. That could be a problem, but I'll show you what you do. My thing is, I have a problem because I used a sheet and I have the head of the sheet still on here. Actually, it'll look kind of pretty, but you know. Okay, so we relay the fabric. Make sure your edges are even. This is always a problem with fabric. If they're not even, one will be too wide, one will be too narrow. On a muslin, it doesn't make as much difference, but as soon as you learn to cut your own fabric, you always want to do it right. If you don't do it right, you'll always have a problem. So just remember, and yes, this is the part that can be a real pain in the butt. Because some fabrics, like sheeting, can fight you. And you'll have one piece all nice and straight, and guess what? The other one isn't. So, I think I actually do have a lot of fabric here. And this is where you turn the pattern so the head is up here, because you have all that wide space down here. This is not wasting fabric. Why go get another piece of fabric when you can work with what you have? So what I'm going to do, I have to move it over a little bit so I can get in here. And I got it nicely laid out. Get your wrinkles out now. You don't want to have big wrinkles in it. Of course, when I do that, what happened? My edges went over again. Sheet, you do not like me. Alright, now I'm going to take this guy off the wall. Yeah, in order for you to see it, I had to tape it and everything else. And my pins are hiding. Alright. Now, I actually can do this the other way. I didn't think... Okay, Miracles again. I laid my fabric down. Now, look at what I did. I left this big wide section. Remember I told you that binding area? Well, you know what? I want to use it because I want to show you a few different things that may come up in pattern. Because this is the back. Normally people will put their zipper in the back. So we want to leave extra room. We'll probably cut off most of it. But right now, I want the extra room because that's one area where if you need to, you're going to do it right there. Now this dress pattern has no darts. Your next garment we make is going to have darts in it, and we'll explain what a dart is then. It basically shapes everything. But we're going to pin this. We're going to try to do it quick because I'm told I'm running out of time. So, as always, put it down, dig up. Make sure it's all flattened out. I'm lucky. There is a nice line here for me to butt this pattern up against. Not everybody gets that one. I do, because I'm using a sheet. The best thing if you got an old sheet. I swear there's so much you can do with one. Because it's either that, throw it out, or put it in the middle of a quilt for batting. Some people do that. I think it's a smart thing for where we are. I didn't tell you about the temperature here because we didn't have time to even check. I was out this morning and I can tell you one thing, it's muggy again. The air conditioning's back on. The fan would be on in here, but we found out if we have the fan on, everybody's going to hear it and you can't hear me. We don't want that. We want to learn. Right now, Mr. Lawnmower Man chose this ultimate moment to start. So if you hear the lawnmower in the back, it's not my family. They wouldn't be doing it now. But you continue on pinning. Mine, I have some special things I'm going to end up doing that you're going to go, what's she doing? Well, I didn't make the pattern long enough, so I got to kind of freehand some work here. Not the best thing for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. I know what I'm doing. It's a good thing. I'm trying to get it all done up. This particular pattern, I didn't add anything to. So, I'm going to have to do it. And with mine, again, I can do freehand because I've been doing this forever. Gotta figure, 52 years in pattern making. I started, I think I was 12 or 13. That's when everything started to not fit. The pattern didn't fit, clothes didn't fit that I bought at the store. So the pattern needed a lot more adjustment. That was back when I didn't know better. Okay, so I am going to cut across. And I am more than happy to tell you these scissors actually work. Yep, I haven't been able to go to the sharpener yet. Go wide on this part, where your armhole is. And go out a bit. You guys have yours measured off, but I don't. Unfortunately, I was a bit lazy. So I'm just going to cut across my bottom and come up because this is quicker for me. And guess what? We don't have a lot of time left. So we're going to just, yeah, a little too narrow there, but that's okay. There's this other thing called adding some fabric if I need to. I might show you how to do that. Okay, this is where I am going to say we're done with the segment on doing our pattern because I just want to take a few minutes for all of those who are sewing machine lovers. Look at this baby, isn't she pretty? Now, you tell me, I see lilac, Some people see it in gray. And when I looked it up, they don't tell you what color it is. I even had somebody said, "Isn't it silver?" Well, this is silver to me. That, I don't think so. It looks like a very delicate lilac to me. Maybe my eyes are messed up, who knows? This is a beautiful Kenmore sewing machine. I'm guessing 50s. I never got to look it up. So, but I know it's a while ago because it's a straight stitch. And for all of you in Africa that have the butterfly, guess what? It's made like your machine. It hooks up the whole thing exactly like the butterfly. This is just a more modern version. So, remember we said you had a Singer 15 clone? Here's another clone, but it's an updated clone. But that's the setup for a 15. Who knows? Borrow, borrow. One of the neat things about this machine is this little dial down here. There's little teeth down here underneath your foot. These little teeth are what help you move the fabric. If you don't have teeth there, the fabric doesn't move. The farther the teeth are up, the more grip it has on the fabric. This one actually has a dial, so you can do it. And it tells you up, and it gives you degrees. Because some fabric doesn't need as much. The heavier the fabric, the less the teeth. But for some people, they like more teeth showing. And so here's your fabric, here's the teeth. It kind of grips a little bit, but not so much that the fabric can't be moved through it. It's just enough to keep it in place so the stitch doesn't look weird. And I mean, it doesn't go wigglies and it doesn't go all over the place. When you're doing embroidery with a sewing machine, a lot of times they'll tell you to drop the feed dogs. That's what this dial does. It drops my feed dogs. You can't see it. It's really hard to see on this model. But my teeth in there, they move up and down. I love this machine. I just thought it was so cute when I first saw it. So that's why we have it. It's wonderful. It's very simple. Easy to do. I love sewing machines. I have to share what I have. I want you to see them. I want everybody to know there isn't just one sewing machine on the planet, you know. And these old girls, this really can do it. So we really want something that's sturdy. Okay, we're almost at the end here. One of the things I want you to do is hit notifications. That's a little bell. Want you to make a comment. We love comments. We do read every comment. And I noticed I'm not getting any. Please, if you want to, you don't want to comment up there, comment in the Facebook page. Tell me what you think. I know there's something else I'm supposed to do. Oh, yes, the biggest thing. Like it. Go for the thumb. Thumbs up? Yes, we don't want thumbs down. Okay, no thumbs down. Bad thing. And always subscribe. If you don't subscribe, you won't get the notification that, hey, I'm back. Okay? Oh, and by the way, Xavier is a tired kitty. He had a busy weekend, so he's asleep on a bed, and that's why he didn't join us today. So that's our show. I love you. You're all my friends. Bye.